SEC Conference. We're going to build the best football program in the SEC Conference.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
The kick, it's been blocked again! How about it? It's been blocked again! It's going to heave one deep down the field. It's going to be to the goal line. It's going to be gone! It's a touchdown! And the Gators have won the game! Tyreek Cleveland! How about it? I can't believe what I just saw! Dropping back to throw. Thompson fires the ball over the middle. It's Dory! It's Dory! Got a touchdown! Dory got a touchdown! Oh, man! Dory's got a touchdown! Ahmad Black, in his final game as a Gator, takes it all the way home and sends Urban out the winner.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Stadium and Gale. It's your favorite Uncle Silk.
It's Dan.
And Delatorre.
Same corner, same time, fresh off a must-need road win out in, Columbia, South Carolina?
Columbia, South Carolina. Man, what a win, huh? Shout out to the Tampa Gator Club. Went to the patio. Shout out to you guys. A couple fans came up. One guy wanted to celebrate. He's like, Dan, I know you got to get a tweet off first. So shout out to that guy. I've seen him there 3 or 4 times. I don't know his name, but shout out to him. But what a game. That's a game like I've not seen in a while. I'll be honest with you. I did not think that they would come back and win that game.
I think the most important thing is we've talked about how young this team is, learning how to win. I think what they did in Columbia was learn how to overcome adversity on the road. We saw them go down at Utah and really not punch back. Saw them go down at Kentucky, really not punch back. Down 10 in the fourth, I was like, all right, this game's cooked. But they came back. I think the impact that Eugene Wilson has on offense is clear. But it's a young team learning how to win. We talk about how tough the schedule is next year. But you're going to get most of these guys back, and you're going to be a very experienced team. So great win. Also, thank God, I couldn't imagine the fan base if they lost to that South Carolina team into a bye week with Georgia waiting.
I'm not ready to talk about next season, but I'm looking at that schedule and I'm seeing a lot of quarterbacks graduating. I'm seeing a lot of skill players graduating from other schools. I mean, on paper, the names sound tough. We get this team back, Nick. I might doing some lying in the offseason.
Yeah, slow down on your lies. There's lies like we haven't finished.
We can lie in 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah. I want to get into the game, man. I do like how we started the game. We'll get all our takes off. How was your weekend, Nick?
Tough. Zach and I drove up Friday, and it was the wife's birthday Sunday. So we, as soon as the game was over, wrote a story and then drove back. Got home at like 3, hung out with the in-laws, nephews, brother-in-law yesterday, and that was it. But Saturday was a long day. Shout out to Zach for making the whole drive.
Man, that you just sitting in the passenger, just see you just being my wife on the road trip. That's crazy.
No, I was working.
Oh, Zach don't have to work on the road? That's crazy too.
We had to drive.
So that was his job. Okay, I see a little teamwork.
The teamwork
Makes the dream work.
Yep, that's how it goes, man. I had a good weekend. It was pretty solid. I had a tough time watching the game. My son and the Gators played at the damn near the same time. My son's game started at 4. The Gators was at 3:30, so that made for a little. I had the Gators on the back burner a little bit, you know what I'm saying, that first half. Once my son's Chargers team pulled away 3 scores early in the first half, and they started just getting the running clock going, and Pop Warner, I was like, okay, I could pay attention to the Gators, and super impressed how we played the game, man. They could have easily folded, but solid weekend. Got 2 wins. Let's break it all down, fellas.
Let's break it down. I do want to give a quick shout out. John Ruiz tried to pull a sneaky trick on me. Does a 1 to 25 stock split. I get liquidated out. Notice I don't have any shares. No longer a shareholder. Thought that would be the end. But then I saw the new the new price collapse. So I'm back in the
Double
game,
down?
boys, as a shareholder. I'm
Wait,
up.
when they did the split, it went up to like $1.
It went up to like 370. So
Ooh.
basically 25 shares became the equivalent of 1 share. And then it dropped like 30%. I said, you know what? There's no better buying opportunity than right now. I've said that before and nearly lost my retirement, but we're back in. John and I, Dan Thompson, John Ruiz, business partners again, back at it.
Match made in heaven,
Match
man.
made in heaven. And shout out to the Miami Dolphins, best team in the NFL. We saw that again yesterday. So let's get into the show. As always, this is sponsored by our friends over at the Gatorverse. So we've been giving away Trevor Etienne digital and physical collectibles, as well as a bunch of different discounts, especially at Bluebird Wings in Gainesville. Last week we gave away 2. This week we are going to give out 3. We used twitterpicker.com. So shout out to at WEM1978, Gator _made 15, and eJoiner 83. Those are the 3 that will win. We'll be in touch with you, connect you to the Gatorverse. We will continue to do giveaways, but go check out the Gatorverse.com. They are supporting all University of Florida athletics through NIL, both physical and digital collectibles. So again, Gatorverse.io to support UF student athletes. Gators win 41-39 in Columbia, South Carolina. Nick, how was the crowd? Seemed loud on TV.
That's a sneaky good stadium. It's like 77,000, but they get loud. Sandstorm, they wave these towels. Good crowd. Late arriving because they had the state fair there, which made getting to the stadium an absolute nightmare. But South Carolina's a good crowd, sneaky good environment in the stadium. Some students stayed around after the game talking smack. I was like sitting there in the tunnel where Florida had to go to get to their locker room. Elite trash talk back and forth.
Okay.
After the game?
Shout out to those students. Yeah. Win or lose, they
man.
don't care.
Brave move to be talking trash after the L. It's like time to get out of there and get back to your trailer, man.
Oh, man. All right. So Gators do win. We do have Andy Staples joining the show today. We forgot to announce that. Gators do win 41-39. They gave up a safety at the end of the game to run out some of the clock there. Pro Football Focus ranked this as the Gators' second best game of the season, only behind the Charlotte game. Silk, give me your thoughts. Let's do offense, defense, split this into like 15-minute segments here. So Silk, obviously, Graham Mertz, career day for him passing the ball. In yardage, obviously leads to come from behind drives to lead the Gators there. But give me your thoughts on the offense. Saw a heavy dose of both Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne as well.
Super important that we harp on how they started the game. Very good drive. You're on the road. We got to start fast. I didn't like how we started versus Kentucky, so I was concentrated on just how we start the game on both sides of the ball. Offense gets the ball first, march down, get us 7 points. Didn't want to get too excited because, it could be just – we've seen this before. We all college football fans could just be a scripted drive that went well, right? But every drive the offense got the ball, they were steady in the first half, moving the sticks, giving the defense some rest on the sidelines, which they needed. We'll talk about defense later, but yeah, bro, I thought like Trey Smack was very key in the first half, not outside of the offense. Him keep hitting those field goals when we did stall in the red zone was very key. Montrell Johnson was solid to good at first half. He's definitely been reading the tweets and whatnot. He's running a little bit more motivated, I would say. So the running game was solid. Offensive line still a little shaky. Graham Mertz was getting hit a lot, but the offensive play calling I thought had more creativity. Nick spoke about Trey Wilson in the offense, what he brings to it. He gets his first 100-yard game of total offense. I think he had 80-something receiving, 20-something rushing. Whenever he touched the ball, it's just a big play ready to happen, man. His twitch is just next level. Arlis Bordenham, he's finding himself, becoming a real threat on offense. Made some key plays, even down the stretch, when we made that comeback on fourth down. He gets hit with a check down, makes a guy miss. As a big man, that was super impressive. But he makes a DB miss, gets upfield, 11-plus yards, moves the sticks. and we going to do what we got to do. But just super impressed, man, with the way this team could have easily folded. We talk about Billy's demeanor a lot, that he does. He's too chill, he's too calm. But I thought that demeanor came through big time for us this week. Going down 10 points in the fourth, the team never panicked. He stayed calm. Mertz takes on his demeanor as well. He was calm as well. So, seeing a calm quarterback hit some deep balls that we were lacking. We hit 11 explosive pass plays this game, which is definitely an uptick in the offense. So we got to see more explosive plays. Ricky made some incredible catches, per usual. Khalil Jackson, again, just incredible catches. I want to see him get some passes where he can catch the ball and run. Most of his catches, he's going out of bounds or toe tapping. But overall, bro, outside of offensive line play, we got some things we need to clean up there, get some more continuity. Guys stay healthy. This is a perfect bye week for us to get back healthy. I want to clean up some offensive line play. But overall, just, improvement on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no, that catch
Etienne is still not healthy as well. I like that he was back. He showed some sparks here and there, but he's still not 100%. This is an important week for him as well.
And through a 2-point conversion.
It's a shoulder injury, and you can tell that. Like, unless it was necessary, he was avoiding contact, like running out of bounds, stuff like that.
Right.
How about this? Both Etienne brothers scored a Wildcat quarterback touchdown this week.
In Colorado.
I guess a 2-point conversion and then a touchdown.
Both of my running backs, so I appreciate it big time.
I wonder this week, talking about the offensive line, we just saw South Carolina shifted their line a ton. Is that something you think Florida might do? Like, hey, just Cam Waits start? Does Barber flip? Like, if you're going to mess with the offensive line, this would be the week to do it. I don't know if they will.
They got to tinker with it a little bit, in my opinion. I think Cam Waits, I don't know how many. I didn't mean to cut you off. Well, finish your take, bro.
No, that's it. You're good.
Yeah, I don't know how healthy Cam Waits is, and how many reps. I think he's back healthy, but I don't know how many reps he could take. What's his threshold coming back? But I would like to see him get more snaps. My man George, I don't know, bro. It's a lot to be desired there. I don't know if moving him inside is the trick. And also, my man, I'm forgetting his name, the transfer, Mazuka. Yeah, I think he could play. He's not playing up to par as I thought he would play. I thought he would bring a lot more physical presence. I thought he would bring more leadership to that offensive line. Just not seeing that from him. But I would like the offensive line to be tinkered with a little bit in this bye week as well.
Yeah. I think you get another, week to get, hopefully they're all healthy. Obviously, a number of those guys, Kingsley, Austin Barber's played well. Mazuka, I know, had the injury before the season. I don't know if that's affecting him. Obviously, Barber was out. Damian George played well at left tackle. He's back. And the offensive line looked bad. And I think that when you look at the stats, obviously, Graham didn't play very well when he was under attack. In that game, I will give Graham a ton of credit. And Arliss Boardingham, that 11-yard pass you were talking about, Silk on 4th and 10 there. That was his check down. Arliss made it work. Shout out to him. Would love to figure out that offensive line, because I think we saw Graham Mertz has a little pep in his step when he can throw that deep ball. Sure, he doesn't have the strongest arm in college football, but he did show that he's able to make those 15, 20, 25-yard passes. So hopefully we see a little bit more of that. You guys shouted out Khalil Jackson. Great catch by him near the sideline there as he's falling down. I'm glad they rewarded him with a touchdown. I think it was on that same drive there. Rushing attack, I think, looks better than the 100 yards that they had through the two of them, plus Eugene Wilson, I think, had 21 yards on the ground. But overall, I thought the offense looked better this game. Graham Mertz did feel comfortable. Eugene Wilson, I know that we keep harping on him every game, but Eugene Wilson, caught the ball on that last drive of the game as well. That went through Ricky's hands, could have potentially been intercepted, and Eugene Wilson's right there. Incredible awareness, especially as a halfway through freshman year wide receiver. So great to see him. Saw that they tried to do the bomb to Aiden Mizell this game. Ultimately didn't work out, but I think a lot of fans were hoping you just run him vertically down. So I think they overthrew him just a little bit there, but
underthrew him.
Or underthrew, yeah. So long story short, offensive line is still the issue that we've talked about. Hopefully they can use this time to get a little bit better. Silk, like your idea of maybe trying out a few different things as well. But going into South Carolina, obviously they were 2-3 when you played them. It's still a game that you have to win. We talked, Florida has at the time 4 probably 50-50 games left in the season, and you have to go and you have to win at least 2 of those. So they went and won 1. Stuart Mandel said the Gators were going to win 3 games. Jake Crane said the Gators were going to get 4 games. Takeo Spike said the Gators are going to win 4 games. You're 7 games in, the Gators have 5 wins. So
you get your clicks in the offseason. Just mention the Gators. Shit.
But
3-9 was a wild take.
How does red shirt working? I'm forgetting like the rules to it, but Aiden Mazzell playing this late in the season. Like, how does red shirt working?
You can play in 4 games and a bowl game. So I think that was just his second.
Okay. Just keeping account.
I think that was only his second game though.
Just keeping account. That's a guy you definitely want to give a shirt to. If possible, he hasn't played a lot, hasn't contributed a lot, even on special teams. Has a lot of upside, as he put on size and weight and everything like that. He's going to be a weapon. So just curious. I do like that they gave him a deep shot, man. Try that out. We know how fast he is. And just putting that thought into defensive minds just, gives us some more room to work with. Those jet sweeps, taking deeper shots, it unloads the block box a little bit.
Yeah, that was just game 2 for Mizell. Eugene Wilson burned his shirt. So big news there.
Yeah, he burned the whole outfit.
Definitely.
Draws, pants, tie, suspenders. Burn the whole closet, bro. We need that man.
Burn the whole closet. Let's see. Ricky Pearsall, incredible game. Obviously, game-winning touchdown. Probably one of the hardest photos I've seen. Ricky Pearsall has 2 of the best photos in college football, I think, this year. Obviously, the catch against Charlotte, the one-handed catch, and then him celebrating with the South Carolina DB, hanging his head in the end zone. But he goes for 166 yards, 1 touchdown. Arliss Boardingham, 55 yards for a touchdown. Hayden Hansen, 27 yards. Eugene Wilson, 83. Khalil Jackson, 52. Marcus Burke, 14. Trevor Etienne, 3. And Montrell Johnson, 23 through the air for 423 yards of receiving in this game.
30 of 48.
A lot of passes.
Well, hold on. Let me get on my soapbox real quick. I said, I don't know, or even maybe said, I don't think Graham Mertz will win you a game with his arm.
You got my boy. You got Graham fucked up a little bit.
Yeah.
Tweeted
fine plus.
Tweeted it before the last drive. It was like, can he do it? Absolutely. Was, I think, just 3 of 7 on that last drive, but the touchdown to Pearsall was a dime.
Oh, the look off, man. The Peyton Manning look the safety off, come back to the post. Nasty work, dog. Even nasty work by Ricky, dog. I was super geek. I didn't jump on my couch and go too crazy, but I was happy we won that game, man. Let's talk about Graham Mertz.
Let's talk a little Graham Mertz. A lot of folks had Graham Mertz as the 14th best quarterback in the SEC this season. I don't think any of us did. Nick and I got a little hate yesterday by somebody online saying that we predicted him to be that. I don't think any of us ever predicted him to be that low, but right now Pro Football Focus has him ranked as the 4th best quarterback in the SEC, 6th best QB rating in the SEC, and highest completion, 4th most yards, 5th most TDs, and fewest interceptions in the SEC.
Yeah, man. I kind of, said in the offseason that I thought, like, I watched every game. I didn't think he was a bad quarterback. I thought Wisconsin was a terrible football team. The offense just didn't make a lot of sense. And I didn't see I've seen terrible quarterback play here. I've seen a lack of, just lack of knowing how to read defenses. That's not what I thought I saw in Wisconsin. And, when I start hearing from guys like Shane Matthews and other guys just around the program that was saying like how much of a student he was, how locked in he was to the plays, to being a leader. I was interested to see how the season was going to play out. Watching him spring football, didn't get too excited. It wasn't a lot to be, hyped about, but There was some type of command of the offense. I thought for a spring game that he did have some things in control, and we didn't look like the shit show I thought we would. But at this point, you got to give Billy and his staff props for, bringing him in. Fans thought it was crazy. A lot of heat, a lot of opinions about it. And rightfully so. Some of it was over the top, but a lot of the criticism about the quarterback we brought in after losing AR, I get it. But you got to get a staff credit, bro. Like them developing quarterbacks, people said the AR got drafted just off of his skill set, that this staff did nothing for him. And you're about to see Graham Mertz get drafted, go from a quarterback that nobody thought could be anything, that he was trash, that he was a waste. Wisconsin, he was done, a bust in the recruiting world. And this kid is more than just efficient and more than a game manager. He got some moxie about himself. He got some leadership skills. He got some mental, fortitude. I love the kid, bro. I'm not going to even front to you. I like everything he brings to the game. I'm not even mad that he went 15 anymore.
Yeah, it's Silk. I mean, and just the way he was getting beat up in this game too, right? I mean,
all season.
All season. I mean, this game, you saw him hurting, and he would come back the next play and do some incredible things. So shout out to him. I know that he was in the cold plunge. I'm sure he was on the massage table every day this week. That's a guy that's been beat up this season, and he comes back and he delivers the best football that he can. He may never win the Heisman Trophy, but man, I was wrong about where I thought that he could be. He's not perfect, but he is certainly better than I think all of us anticipated he would be.
Yeah, and like before the season, I was like, they're not going to ask him to be Rex Grossman, Kyle Trask in 2020. But what they've asked him to do, he's done at a very high level, whether that's dink and dunk, like when they played McNeese just played like 3 safeties and we're happy to give you a 10-yard pass. So they just did it. I think they asked him to throw down the field more against South Carolina. The completion percentage dips, but that's going to happen. I don't think that I was like super down on him, but I definitely thought he was like just a game manager. And I think his leadership has probably been the best thing. And you can't tell me that like when he gets hit and gets back up and back in the huddle, that hasn't like made an impression on the guys. And I think they follow him. Yeah, so I don't know that we definitely didn't say that he was the 14th best quarterback, Dan. That guy was off.
No, definitely never did.
Mertz has played better than I said he would. So giving him some flowers.
Yeah, no, I think Mertz has played better. And there's a comment here from Coach 9. Says, anybody thinking that a QB with 30 starts under his belt would be that garbage in a fresh setting is ignorant. A couple of times saw Billy Napier speak this offseason. That was the one thing that they continue to highlight about Graham Mertz was his game experience. He's one of the most, I think, tenured quarterbacks in all of college football in terms of the number of starts that he has. And you see that in his play. So shout out to Graham Mertz. Use this off time to get your body a little healthy. Go ahead.
Yeah, one more take, man, with the quarterback development. Like, I don't know if he was asked to dink and dunk. And I think Billy adjusted some things when it pertains to, reads and the shots that he's taking. We had some guys open that was closer reads for like 15 yards. When he rolled out the pocket a few times, we had some tight ends, some even on the Khalil Jackson throw, there was a 15, 20-yard route in front of him open, and he took the deeper shot and hit on it more than one time this game, where he took the deeper shot than what was right in front of him. So there is some growth when it pertains to taking deeper shots, and I don't think that's just by coincidence. I think they're telling him that, hey, bro, we know you want to move the sticks, but there's a deeper shot, more opportunity for more explosive plays. Take that shot. Because I don't think we ran anything much different. I've seen pretty much all the plays we've seen that we ran Saturday, but what was different is the shots that we took and, playmakers making plays. So shout out to that, man. We're going to have to continue to make those deep shots to win down the stretch. We got some big games on the way.
Absolutely. Wanted to highlight a super chat from earlier from Ye Old Bast. Says the intentional safety to punt the kickoff was 500 IQ and cracked me up with the trick plays and wildcat pass. 2 tight end Billy out beamered South Carolina at homecoming. I tweeted a
looked-
little early that the Gators had this game won. There's still 40 seconds left. We obviously saw Miami. Obviously, Billy Napier is not Mario Cristobal, but there's still some time with some timeouts that they have to use to drain some of that clock. But to give the intentional safety to then punt, to then run out those last few seconds. I mean, that's some good football right there. Shout out to Chris Couch for thinking of that idea.
I don't know if they
Just-
I don't know if you saw it on TV, but it looked like Billy was mad when Mertz immediately took a knee on first down because South Carolina had all 3 timeouts. I think he wanted him to do that, like
dance around a little bit.
The clock,
Yeah.
So then South Carolina calls it, and now you are committed to having to do that. So once that happens, then I'm thinking like, please, like this can't be like some crazy. The band is on the field, tossing it back and forth, miracle like. Punt, return, touchdown to walk it off.
Yeah.
So shout out to Jeremy Crawshaw. Great punt.
Yeah. Shout out to Jeremy Crawshaw. Obviously you still have to figure that out. I know the one time Graham had to burn some clock at the end of the Tennessee game. There was a fight that, had created a little brouhaha at the end. So you want to make sure that something like that doesn't happen. But good awareness, good coaching there. Obviously, you can give up those 2 points and didn't affect Las Vegas at all. So no bad beats on that end as well. So yeah, I mean, that's where we sit. I mean, we've got Andy Staples coming on in about 5 minutes. I know that there's a lot to talk about defense. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a perfect game. Gators still won. But any additional thoughts on the offensive side of the ball before we do get to Andy Staples?
Shout out to Hanson too. We found another tight end. The young boy, he's making some plays. I do like what he brought to the game as well, bro. Just we got playmakers. It's a young team. They're growing. Mertz numbers, if you look at it, they're very identical, or they're better than Joe Burrow's first year numbers at LSU. You can do a lot of comparisons to him with quarterbacks around the country, and there's a lot to be encouraged about with the future.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think we still need an offensive coordinator? Yes, I do. There's still some things that I would like to see us do better with the play calling. Some of it was still off. Like we ran the 3rd and 2. Some of it too, like Graham got to clean up. I don't know if it's RPO, but there's one time he handed it off on a 3rd and 2 to I think Etienne, and we had Trey Wilson that'll probably went for like 10-15 on a jet sweep there. So there's some things, and there's still some plays we're leaving on the field that we got to clean up, but I'm encouraged by just the uptick in offense and the productivity getting a little better. Offensive line, 2 offensive line coaches, we just got to clean that up.
Yeah. Let's talk about offensive line real quick. Going through Pro Football Focus here, Gators allowed 3 sacks, 2 by Austin Barber, 1 by Richie Leonard, allowed 1 quarterback hit, 5 hurries, and 9 pressures in that game. Just a bad run blocking affair for the Gators during this game, according to Pro Football Focus. Austin Barber, then you have to go way down. Mazuka, Leonard, Slaughter, Damian George, and Lindell Hudson there. That's how they ranked them. But pass blocking was significantly better, according to them. Austin Barber, Jake Slaughter, Damian George, Richie Leonard, and Micah Mazuka. Not a great game for Micah Mazuka overall. But overall, the defense or the offensive line just looked pretty porous, especially at the I think probably the 2nd and 3rd quarter were the worst of that. But hopefully continue to get better. Hopefully continue to get healthy. But did enough to get the W.
Absolutely. On the road, big time win. We needed that shit bad, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Going 1-8 on the road would have been horrendous, man. So let's continue to talk about defense. But man, sigh of relief after that one.
Sigh of relief there. So while we wait for Andy, let's get into special teams a little bit, just because I think defense is going to necessitate a little bit of time there. We have a kicker continuously kicking the ball through the uprights. Proud of what we've seen out of Trey Smack this season. Goes 4 for 5 in this game. Nick, I want you to read your stat here in a second. Obviously has 1 blocked there, but I mean, he's putting the kick right through the middle of the uprights with about 10 yards to go on each of those. So Trey Smack has been an unbelievable surprise for the Gators this season. So give him his flowers. I think he's 12 of 13 on the year. So exceptional job there.
think he's 11 of 12. Yeah, 11 of
11
12.
12. Okay, it was 11 for 11 then. Okay. Nick, what was the stat that you were going to give before the field goal got blocked?
Oh, he would have been the second Florida kicker in program history to have 2 games of 5 field goals or more, and the first to do it in the same season. Jinx
I like
Jinx
the
hell out of
way
him.
I like where he hitting them from. Like those such clutch field goals, though. I do not want to like just downplay how important those field goals were for us to get points at those point in time. Like good
And that
game by
54-yarder
Trace.
had like
Yeah,
room.
more on it. Yeah,
Room.
that shit was pure, bro. Like it's effortless. I don't know what went wrong in the blocking scheme or why we got that one block. But anything that gets past the line of scrimmage, I feel good about going through the uprights with Trace Mack.
Absolutely. Great. But again, great performance by him. Let's give Pro Football Focus while we wait for Andy here. Top player of the game, Ricky Pearsall, then Graham Mertz, then Austin Barber, Eugene Wilson, Arliss Boardingham, Hayden Hansen, Khalil Jackson, Montrell Johnson, Richie Leonard, and Trevor Etienne are your top 10 in this game. So, again, putting 41 points up on the road. The Gators obviously struggled against Charlotte to put up points, struggled against Kentucky to put up points. But hopefully we're starting to see a turned offense here. I don't know what's changed. I don't know if it's comfort. I don't know if it's health, but it definitely seems like there's some things that are starting to click a little bit on offense. And now you just need the consistency of it. Right. So.
What has changed? Like
Trey Wilson is Trey Wilson being healthy is going to be very key to our offense. And if he goes down, I would we got to get somebody else to play that type of role. But he's very important to. Like, I don't know what our run game, which we struggle with run blocking a lot this game. I don't know what it would have been without him. Like him, like causing the defense to stress out about jet sweeps and whatever else he may bring to the table, loosen some things up. But we're just gonna be a different football team with him. I would like to get him the ball even more, bro. Like he's just too explosive not to get the ball to.
Yeah, they went 12 personnel the first 2 drives, and people were like, "What's wrong?" Blowing me up. Like, "What's wrong with Trey? Is he there? Is he hurt?" And I'm like, "He's just not in 12 personnel." They had 2 tight ends like on the field the entire first 2 drives. But as soon as he came in, 3rd drive, like forcing the issue, like forcing the ball to him. I like that. Love that.
That's one thing I think Billy's getting better at too. Like just getting playmakers the ball. Like Arliss Boardingham is getting obvious looks, and people were saying the tight end would not eat in this offense, but clearly something has changed as far as the tight end role in this offense. I still don't think we know what this offense is going to be. I don't think what he played at Louisiana is anything he's running now. It's a different look and feel to it. And we'll see how it continues to mature and grow and develop. But obviously there's some wrinkles here that we didn't see in the previous Louisiana, even with the run to pass ratio. Graham Mertz, in my opinion, going out to throw this many passes, going to win on his arm. Nobody had that on the bingo cards. And we've asked him to do that more than once. Like he just have completed it one time. He's gonna have to do it more this season. Like the games we got on the schedule, we're not gonna be able to play. We've seen our defense. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit, but we're not gonna be able to run the ball and play defense. Graham Mertz gonna have to win us some games on his arm down the stretch.
Yeah, it was good to see that he finally did. So we have Andy Staples from On 3 joining us right now. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to our friends over at Home Field Apparel. Go visit homefieldapparel.com, promo code Stadium and Gale at checkout. 15% off of your order of the best and softest vintage t-shirts for the University of Florida, as well as about 90 different colleges around the country as well. It is that time, holiday season, for you to go buy your significant other, your friend, your business partner, whoever it might be, something from Home Field Apparel. So again, homefieldapparel.com, promo code Stadium and Gale, all one word at checkout. And with that, we welcome a friend of the show, one of our favorite writers, Andy Staples from On 3. Andy, it is good to have you today, my friend.
What's up, gentlemen? How we doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Man. What's up with it?
I don't know if you just heard Silk, but did you have Graham Mertz winning a game on the road with his arm on your bingo card this week?
I didn't, but I also didn't have South Carolina being the Swiss cheesiest defense they would play. But hey, what I thought was interesting is they recognized that. They recognized that their defense was not going to stop South Carolina's offense either, and they started taking shots.
Mhm.
And I like the awareness. I like the, okay, we can break out of our typical mold of we're going to be very conservative and try to limit possessions, because that is not how this particular game is going to get won. So I thought that was a really good sign, because the flexibility part is the part I was wondering about with Billy Napier as a play caller. And you saw some flexibility there, which leads me to believe that in the future, when he hires someone to call the plays, perhaps schematic flexibility is more of an option than I thought it was going to be. Because I was wondering, okay, what's going to happen here? Is he going to try to find a clone of him, or is it maybe going to be somebody else? But I thought that was just understanding the circumstances of the game and then adapting to them, I thought was really good.
Yeah, no, Andy, what are your thoughts? I mean, so you're obviously plugged into the Gators. You live in Gainesville, but you're always very tight, obviously tied in nationally as well. What are the thoughts on the Gators, right? They're not a lot of expectations going into this year, a lot of 3 and 4, maybe 5 win projections for the Gators this year. They sit at 5-2, have Georgia, have FSU, who are ranked highly. You have probably 3 more toss-up games in there, but what is the talk on the street about Graham Mertz? Obviously, you saw Wisconsin score 9 points this past weekend. They probably would have liked some of that Graham Mertz offense, but what is the talk nationally? Are they starting to see that the Gators maybe are a little bit ahead of schedule, or is it still too early to tell and too up and down for them?
No, they're too up and down. I mean, Graham Mertz didn't play well against Iowa, and neither did Tanner Mordecai or Braden Locke. Like, if Graham Mertz had played against Iowa on Saturday, he would have had a hard time, because Iowa's defense is a lot better than South Carolina's defense. So that's remember, it was the circuit. Like, South Carolina's defense was terrible. So let's not go crazy. But it was fun to watch Florida throw the ball down the field a little bit and find some new weapons. Like, I think the 2 tight ends were a big bright spot in that game, and Boardingham and Hansen. So yeah, I do think they're figuring out how to use what they have. And so I think that's good. I think they're about where I thought they'd be, because I said they'd win 7 games this season. So 2 more. And honestly, they might not win 2 more. Like, with the rest of the schedule, they might not. They might win 1.
It's a possibility.
Yeah. So if they can win 2 more against this schedule, that's a good sign, because look at how many young guys they're playing. So I think Arkansas is the most winnable of these games. And we'll see what, like, Arkansas is an interesting one this weekend, because Arkansas has lost 5 in a row, but they've been competitive in all those games. I mean, they were in the game with Alabama until the very end. They really are due a win, and they're playing Mississippi State. So they're probably going to get one this week. And then what happens then? If they lose to Mississippi State, they may fire Sam Pittman. I'm not exaggerating there.
That's what I need. They come in with a fire coach.
Yeah, it could be.
I need an O-line coach too, Andy. So you know what I'm saying?
You got 2 O-line coaches.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have 2.
Yeah, I just need 1. You said I got 2. I said I need 1.
Sam Pittman as the 1 O-line coach is that's a significant upgrade for almost every team in the country. So yeah, if he were on the market, that would be something. I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the way with them. But yeah, I mean, you look at LSU. Like, do you really want to get in a shootout with LSU? Because you're going to have to.
Not at all.
But that's the one thing I'm curious to see what they do, because we saw him do it against South Carolina. I think we'll see him do it more. Take some more risks. Like, that's the only way you're going to have a chance against Georgia, against Florida State, is you're going to have to take some risks, throw some shots downfield. Florida's defense isn't good enough to just rely on them stopping a really good offense over and over. That's not going to happen. So they need to try to get some try to create some turnovers, and offensively, they're going to have to take some chances against those good teams, because like LSU, they just get in shootouts. Like, LSU's defense isn't good either. That LSU Florida game could look a lot like South Carolina Florida. The difference is LSU's offense is even better than South Carolina's.
You don't think they would try to go with like the Tennessee game plan of long extended drives, slow it down, try to limit LSU's offensive possessions.
No, I don't think
LSU's better.
I don't think that's a good idea. LSU's bad in the secondary. They're not bad up front. So you're not going to be able to have those long sustained drives, but you may be able to burn them. So again, it's the circumstances of the game. And that's Ole Miss got in a shootout with LSU. Missouri got in a shootout with LSU. It doesn't mean you're going to win them. Like Ole Miss won, Missouri didn't. But Florida can play in a shootout with LSU, I think. And who knows? The ball bouncing is a thing. Think about the play where the ball bounces off of Pearsall's hands in the fourth quarter and it bounces into Eugene Wilson's hands. What if it bounced into a South Carolina player's hands? What kind of conversation are we having right now? Like
A depressing one.
Exactly. But what if you do that again and it's a pass that bounces off an LSU player's hands and into a Florida defender's hand? Like that's good. You've got to make the recipe for each game based on the ingredients of the game. And so Missouri and LSU, you're probably going to have to play shootouts. That's the way it's going to go. If you try to play the way that Nick just talked about, you're going to lose. Arkansas,
but that's not even a conversation we would have had before seeing them do it last week.
Yeah. And it's great to know it's there. And I don't know if that's a function of South Carolina's defense. I mean, we'll see. When they play Georgia, if they try that stuff against Georgia and they just get completely shut down, then maybe it was South Carolina's defense. But I do think they found some more people they trust offensively in terms of targets. Boardingham really, I feel like, opens things up. I think Georgia's a great example of this. Look at how Georgia uses their tight ends to open everything else up. Now, Bowers is hurt. Probably not seeing Bowers in the cocktail party. But they've got Oscar Delp.
I wish him a slow but healthy recovery.
Yeah. You wish him a recovery where he comes back for the SEC championship game.
Don't want him to push it.
I understand. So, but that's the thing. Oscar Delp probably becomes a bigger piece of the offense if Bowers isn't there. But they've established that that's going to be how they open things up. They've got good receivers, but they can do things with the tight end underneath. They can, have him on that wheel route where they're going to make the defense deal with him, and it's going to open things up for the receivers. I think what they did with Boardingham on Saturday made life easier for Pearsall. Because think about it, Pearsall has been the only legitimate target almost the entire time he's been in Gainesville. But on Saturday, South Carolina couldn't just worry about Pearsall, and look at how many times he was in one-on-one coverage or just open. Like that was progress, I think. So I thought the way they handled that game was very encouraging. And I do realize that if that ball had bounced differently, because I've got a mailbag show tonight. And so I've got South Carolina fans emailing me like, what are we going to do? This is awful. What do we do? We're done. And that's what Florida fans would be doing had that ball bounced a different direction.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing that we've seen throughout the season is the immersion of some additional targets, and we'll see how that continues to play out. Obviously, Ricky Pearsall was your one, and then there was a big question mark about what that would look like after. Marcus Burke, Jaquavion Frazier is kind of your list of wide receivers that have been there for a little while. You add Eugene Wilson, Hayden Hansen played well in that game, and he's great at blocking. Arlis Boardingham obviously had a good game. So as the season progresses, you start to see some additional targets that now defenses have to figure out how they're going to cover, which leaves obvious situations where the Ricky Pearsall is going to be one-on-one or Eugene Wilson's going to be one-on-one. So I am curious there. Obviously, defense is probably the biggest question that a lot of Gator fans are still wondering about. Obviously, played really well, probably the first 4 games of the season. The last few weeks haven't looked all that great. Sans Vanderbilt, the Kentucky, South Carolina game. Obviously, Florida.
Here's the thing, Dan. Did they play really well at the beginning of the season, or were they playing Utah's JV offense and Tennessee without 2 starting offensive line?
Right? We've been banged up too, Andy.
I know, but think about that. It might make more sense to understand why it's not like they just fell apart defensively. They faced better competition defensively. So that's the thing that and they're young. I still think they can get better. The thing about all of it with Florida is it does feel like the best players are the youngest players, which is what did we talk about at the beginning of the season? If you get to the end of the year and the best players are the youngest players, you should feel pretty good about things. And
that's kind of what I've told fans in defense of Napier. I'm like, listen, you're going to have to take lumps. And even if you know that going into the season, like, hey, we're young, we're going to have to take lumps. It doesn't make the lumps in real time feel any better. So I get like the anger. But if you look at the best players on the team, the guys that are making an impact, they were either brought in the transfer portal or in the last 2 recruiting classes. So you've got a handful of older guys from the portal, and you're relying on freshmen, redshirt freshmen. So, I mean, the back end of this schedule is tough, but like those freshmen, do we even call them freshmen anymore? Like they've played.
Well, I'm excited to see how they play against this part of the schedule, because this is what the schedule is going to look like next year. I mean, the schedule is very hard next year, but it shouldn't matter. Like if you're a good SEC team, it doesn't matter if you have a hard schedule. So how do these guys handle playing against the Georgias and the LSUs of the world, or this Florida State team, which is very, very good? Like, how do they handle that? Do they shrink from it? Do they rise to the level of competition? If you see them rising to the level of competition, and even if they lose, but if they make these games competitive, I think you should be pretty pumped going forward. Now, if they just get blown out, if they look like they don't belong on the field, that's a different story. But I don't know that that's going to happen. The Kentucky game was discouraging for sure. But if these guys, especially as they keep, like the 2 tight ends I just mentioned, they're both second-year guys. They're both guys that Billy Napier brought in. Like, if they keep expanding their role in the offense as the season goes on, that is a good sign for the future. So I keep telling people, like, you can't bail on Napier because they're not going to, because they're not paying his buyout. So you are going to be dealing with Billy Napier next year. So accept that. But you could also look at the fact that the players he's brought in seem to be pretty good.
So you're going to get about.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. You can finish your take.
Oh, no, I'm good.
What do you? I think offense had a solid game. There's a lot of offensive line stuff we need to get cleaned up, but I do see some progression in the offense. Getting better. Defensively, I'm concerned about our front four getting sacks, turnovers, getting to the passer, especially when we come down the stretch with better teams. What's your feel on Austin Armstrong?
Well, he's probably got to have a little older and better group to work with. That would help. I mean, think about who your best players are. Shamar James, Scooby Williams, like these are young guys. So I think it's hard in the SEC when your best players are freshmen and sophomores on defense. And they don't have any aliens in terms of the pass rush. They just don't have that. And
correct.
They're in a league where almost everybody has somebody like that. Like if you watched Alabama, Arkansas over the weekend, like Landon Jackson is a freak. He's 6'7", 280. Like Arkansas has lost 5 in a row, but they've got that guy. And he's just demolishing Alabama's left tackle play after play after play after play. Florida didn't have anything like that. That's what Florida has to get / develop.
Yeah.
I think we have that in maybe the young boys like TJ Searcy and Kelby. Right. I think we've seen sparks of that from them, and look forward to that in the future.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that.
I think Kelby, like a prime example, you go out to spring practice this past year and you see him and you're like, ooh, that looks different. Okay. That feels like it's a little bit different. But obviously at that position, you're not going to see a lot of guys just come in as true freshmen and blow up. Like that's a second year, third year kind of thing, because you're dealing with grown ass men on the other side of the line of scrimmage usually. So I think they're on the right track there, but I don't think there's no rescue coming this year. Like there's not.
Now that you say that, being young in the COVID era, like of like these super seniors, and we're super young, like that puts you in a terrible space.
Exactly. Now it's not as much against like a Georgia. The problem with Georgia being that they're all NFL players anyway, but it's against your Missouris of the world and your Arkansas of the world, where they've probably got a 23-year-old dude playing on the other side, and that's a problem. Like it just the difference between an 18, 19-year-old and 23-year-old is significant, especially among large people. So you're exactly right. So, and it's funny because that's going to filter itself out.
Correct.
Next year, by 25, it's pretty much gone. So you don't have that much. You'll have more fifth-year seniors that hang around because of NIL, where they would have been, 6th or 7th round draft pick. They're gonna stay in school one more year and be a good player and live on that. But I do think that part of it, where the teams that are typically not sending guys to the NFL as 3rd and 4th year players, they're so old right now. And I think that's the bigger reason for the level of parity you're seeing across the board. Because we talk about NIL and transfer portal, and I definitely think that has something to do with it too. But I think that COVID year is probably the biggest factor there.
Yeah, and obviously Florida goes through a coaching change there, a big coaching difference too, right? The type of coach, the type of offense, everything else. So Florida did lose a lot of those guys during that time. Andy, Gators have Georgia, LSU, Missouri, Arkansas, and FSU left. How do you see that working out for the Gators? I know you said probably 1, maybe 2. Is there a way that Florida can be competitive against, Florida State, who I know is ranked high, obviously has a good game against Syracuse last week, has looked pretty up and down, obviously a team chock full of those COVID year, 4th, 5th, 6th year guys that are there. But where do you see Florida kind of growing from this through the rest of the season?
See, I have a hard time envisioning them being competitive against Georgia because I don't think they're going to get sleepy Georgia. If they got sleepy Georgia, then that's probably an interesting game, at least for a little while. But the problem is Georgia was just sleepy against Vanderbilt.
I need no Brock, Georgia. That's what I need.
The no Brock. Well, I think you're getting no Brock, Georgia, but
that's what
Georgia's been like sleepy all year. But then they got a bunch of talk about Kentucky, and Kentucky was going to be a tough game. And then like the real Georgia shows up. And you're not going to get a sleepy Georgia.
The last thing you need is Florida people being super excited because of the South Carolina one. Like, oh, now we can beat Georgia. All that does is piss them off. So, but yeah, if they come out and I do think with the week off, even if they don't have Brock Bowers, they're going to have a week to figure out what to do without him. And they still have a bunch of really good players. So I think Georgia's going to be a tough one. They should be able to beat Arkansas. It's not going to be easy. I think that one might wind up in another shootout. I remember Arkansas and LSU played a shootout. Like you may see that again. And because you can score on Arkansas's defense. You can beat them deep, as Alabama showed you last week, as LSU showed you. So there are ways to do this, and it's strange to say that because you'd look at this at the beginning of the season and say, "Well, this is going to be a rock fight." I don't know that that's the way to beat them, but I think Florida can beat them. Like that's your bowl eligibility game right there, and then
you're wearing black jerseys. So you have to win.
Yeah, for the veterans.
That's true. Yeah, I notice any controversial jersey choice, you have to make it for the troops, and then
it's no controversial anymore. They should have made the green reptile ones for the troops, and they would have been an all-time favorite for the Gators.
Oh, well, if they hadn't lost to Texas A&M, maybe the troops. I was gonna say if they hadn't lost to Texas A&M, maybe they would have come back. But the Missouri game, they're playing really well. But where that game falls, there's definitely a chance. Now, does Florida winning against South Carolina or at South Carolina mean that Florida's road woes are done? I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I do think there's a shot there against Missouri. Although Columbia, Missouri has been a house of horrors for the Gators.
I said before the season, like I thought Missouri was going to be bad though, so I thought.
No,
they're
bad
pretty
teams,
damn good. November 18th, probably at noon, 11 a.m. local, cold, not a lot of people there. And I'm like, I've seen Florida lose that exact game so many times, but Missouri's good.
Yeah, Missouri may be trying to get itself into a New Year's Six bowl at that point. Now they'd have to have beaten Tennessee the week before to do that because I think they're probably losing at Georgia, but they get Tennessee at home the week before. Now, Florida is catching them at the end of a pretty tough stretch where they're playing Georgia and Tennessee right in a row. So I think that helps Florida on that front. But Florida, of course, will be coming off the LSU game. And against LSU, listen, just Billy Napier is going to probably have to be as uncomfortable as possible with his game plan. But he showed last week he can pull it off. Like, just chuck it. Just try to make it, try to hang in a 55 to 52 game, because I don't know that anybody's stopping LSU's offense except maybe Alabama. But I think Alabama is going to have some trouble with them. And that game may end up higher scoring. Now, I think the problem for LSU is they're a bad style matchup for Alabama. Like, Jalen Milroe doesn't do much great throwing the ball except throw the deep ball. Well, guess what LSU's terrible at covering. So, like, I think LSU is going to be in that situation coming off the Alabama game where, especially if they lose, they're going to be pissed off and they're going to want to try to make a point. So, like, the only way to do that may be like, hey, we're going to try to air it out, play your game, because I don't see anybody limiting LSU scoring. Like, you could try to limit possessions or limit the time they have the ball, but they're going to score in like a minute and a half. Like, unless Florida's defense just magically changes from what we saw over the weekend, like that's going to be a tough one to win. But no, I do think it's, and then the Florida State game, it's at home. Florida State could be under some significant pressure if they're still undefeated. They want to be undefeated going to the ACC championship game. We don't know what the rest of the country will look like at that point. If they're undefeated going to the ACC championship game because they have the LSU win, especially if, like, let's say LSU beats Alabama and LSU might win the West, like, Florida State would be in a great position where they could even maybe lose the ACC championship game and still make the playoffs. So they'll need to win that one against Florida. But that's a game rivalry situation. A bunch of young Florida players wanting to prove a point. Country's probably watching. It's a good spot. It reminds me a little bit of the 97 Florida FSU situation. And so I think that one could be fun, but that one, another one where Florida will have to play maybe an uncomfortable style for Napier, because, and maybe that's what this team is. You know, I keep saying it, but we saw it work.
Keep saying it. It hasn't even like sunk into me yet. Like, what are we talking about? Florida's going to be like an air raid offense now.
No, but here's the thing.
That's
an
exaggeration.
Fail miserably. It might, like, this could also lose you a game 42-13 if the other team's defense is having a good day. But it may give you your only chance to win. And that's the question. Do you risk the embarrassment of losing that way? Whereas you could lose a little closer playing the style that Billy likes to play, but that style probably isn't going to win you the game. Like, that.
I don't think Billy likes to
zero.
I mean, cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't think that's Billy's style anymore. I think that's Louisiana's style of football. But since he's been at the University of Florida, the offense, like, AR threw the ball 40-something times some games, right? You come back this year, we thought the offense was going to be run, play defense, possess the ball. While we seen that versus Tennessee, the rest of these games, we're seeing the run get abandoned quick and us pitch the ball around more than we expected to. I still don't know what Billy offense is going to be at Florida, but it's nowhere near what it was at Louisiana when you look at the run-pass ratio.
No, and because that was what worked at Louisiana. And that's a good sign. It's a good sign that you see him adapt based on what he's got and based on the circumstances of the games. The problem, the tricky part here is to win against LSU or Missouri or Florida State, you're probably going to have to risk playing a style that could get you beat 42-13. And it's okay, because you give yourself a chance to win that way. And I think Napier and his staff understand you got to give yourself a chance. Like, losing close doesn't matter, doesn't feel better. Like, go try to win. And there will need to be some risks taken, because they will not be the more talented team against LSU. They might not be the more talented team against Missouri. And Missouri's, the thing is, Luther Burden is one of the best receivers in the country. Brady Cook's been fantastic this year. And Missouri's just, whatever they're doing, they're figuring out ways. They should have beaten LSU. Like, they should not have lost that game, but they figured out a way to win against Kansas State. They were losing against Kentucky. They were down 14-0. They call that fake punt. The punter throws a touchdown pass, and all of a sudden they're like, all right, we got this. And
Punter threw a dime.
Oh, it was a beautiful throw. But yeah, it's interesting because that team just seems to understand, hey, we hang in there, we can win this thing. So I'm actually kind of excited to see what Florida does against this stretch, because it is very hard. But the players we thought would be coming up as freshmen and would have to play important roles are starting to play important roles. And
probably better than anticipated too, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think that there's some surprises. I hope you're not looking at the comment section, because they're cooking with gas right now. You've deflated all of their balloons. You are one singular rain cloud over their parade right now. But I think
you beat South Carolina on a one bounce catch. Like,
I don't know if South Carolina's a terrible team though. Like, if you look at the schedule, they played the toughest schedule in college football. That the gauntlet they started with was North Carolina. Who they had? North Carolina, Tennessee, and who else? I can't remember. But I think they get Georgia. Yeah, so they've had the toughest schedule to start the season.
They beat Mississippi State. So we'll see when
we caught them off of a bye. They had a little bit more time to prepare for us. Homecoming. It was their Super Bowl. And I'm not gonna say they're a terrible team. I think it was definitely their Super Bowl.
I think Georgia was their Super Bowl.
Well, they lost.
They were up
Super
14-3.
Bowl, so this was Super Bowl try number 2.
Yeah, they didn't think they was gonna beat Georgia in real life. They knew they had a shot at
in real life.
I will say, Andy, the South Carolina team that has 2 wins looked a hell of a lot different than the South Carolina team that played on Saturday, right? Spencer Rattler, Leggett.
Oh, Spencer Rattler is very good. Like that. Yeah. That's the thing. Like that North Carolina game. I talked to Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl, and Rattler got sacked like 9 times in that game.
Yeah.
If Rattler hadn't been as good as he is, he would have been sacked like 19 times. So,
yeah, Spencer Rattler's good, man.
Yeah, he never
thought
fantastic.
that I would say that when I watched his like QB show that was on, I don't know, it was like 2013 when he was a senior in high school. But
his QB show was filmed the year before Anthony Richardson's, because ARs didn't come out. But he's older than Anthony Richardson, just hanging around. I think he has another year of eligibility, potentially.
I hope.
Rattler's done. He's played 5. Yeah.
You get like 7 in the COVID years, I think, though.
Yeah, well, actually, no, I take that back. He did redshirt 2019. So, yes, he could come back. Wow. You're right.
For his age 24 or 25 season.
He's going to be getting his second PhD by that point in time.
I did click on the comments, by the way, guys. And yeah,
they think it's a debate, bro. Like, we're not here to debate Andy, man.
It's not.
We're here to talk
this
Gator
interview
football.
went just as planned, Chris. I think you said this interview didn't go as planned. That's why we bring on people, right? Because oftentimes we live in our world, right? We're super excited. Sometimes we need to bring differing thoughts, differing opinions. And some people to rain on parades. That's okay.
The thing is, everybody gets all excited based on a win or a loss, which, yes, that the wins and losses obviously matter the most. But there's a super thin line sometimes between your coach is a moron and your coach is a genius.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, Shane Beamer's on the wrong side of the line and Billy Napier's on the right side of the line. And we've seen that before. We've seen it with Jim McElwain and Butch Jones. Like we've seen that. And you just have to understand that if you're a team that is winning that way, you also can lose that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you stack a bunch of wins that way, that's great. Florida has not stacked a bunch of wins that way. You know, they've
stacked
beaten
5.
Yeah, they're right. They've beaten 3 teams they absolutely should have beaten and would have been completely embarrassed had they lost. Tennessee is a great win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nick said they were a bad team. Only 1 loss on the season.
No, Tennessee's a very good win.
Yeah, you did. You said that was a bad Tennessee game. We can rewind the audio. The comment section had it, Nick.
I think I definitely called Milton bad, but I don't know if I called the whole team bad. Maybe, possibly. Firing off the mouth.
I think it's funny because I saw somebody saying Andy was probably one of the Mertz doubters. Guys, he had 1 great game.
He's been
Certain
good all
I don't even
season.
think
I don't know about
I don't
like
even-
great, but he's been
was
better
he
than
was-
expected.
He was great on Saturday. Like
There-
that
there
was a great game.
There was a
I don't
lot of
think
people
that
that had
was
Graham
I think that
Mertz
was
as
his
the
cleanest game on the
14th
season.
best. Go ahead, Nick.
I don't think that was his cleanest game, despite the stats. I don't think that was his cleanest game.
I think they had to put it in his hands to win it,
Yes,
and they said go win this game, and he did. And I
which
thought
is
that
a
was
huge
awesome.
question we had.
Yeah, like that 4th and 10 throw was nails. Like that, he was as calm as could be, and you looked at him moving around the pocket, and he looked very comfortable, and so that was what you hoped he would be. That's what Wisconsin hoped he would be when they signed him. So I thought that was great. The thing is it repeatable? And we're going to find out.
We
I
will
don't
find out. Yeah,
And
obviously the
again,
Gators
I'm not saying he needs to do that against Georgia. Like I'm not, but can you do that against Arkansas, against Missouri, against that LSU secondary? Yeah, you can. Like that, he can do that. And so and that's the part with him I'm curious about, because we know how conservative the Paul Chryst offense was at Wisconsin. Like, if you kind of let him cook, is this what you're going to get? Because that could be kind of fun.
When we were talking to him after the game, like career number, he just like smiled. He was like, "I'm having a blast. This is the most fun I've ever had." I'm like, probably because you're not handing the ball off 38 times a game.
Well, yeah, and also his teammates really like him. Like he definitely seems to have everybody's respect, and it was fun to watch. And it's always fun. Like Rattler's another good example of that. Both those guys got just kind of destroyed at their old places, and then have gotten to have this kind of vindication, redemption arc. Rattler when he beat Tennessee and Clemson last year, and Mertz now. So I'd love to see what happens if they keep playing like that and keep kind of giving him the keys and let him. But the thing is, if you do that, there's risk involved. Like when you're playing a better defense, you might some of those passes might get intercepted, but it's sure a fun way to go. Like I think it's a more fun way to do it. And like I said, it may be the only way to make some of these games winnable down the stretch. So I'm not going to crush them if they take some chances that allows them to have a winnable game and it doesn't go right and they look and they get beat by a better team.
I feel so comfortable. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. You think you're going to stop sometimes. I'm sorry.
It's all right. You keep going. Silk, you talk when you want to talk. This is your show.
Nah, bro. I don't like to like cut people off. That's a bad habit. But sometimes you guys pause. I think you're about to stop. I'm encouraged about how well I'm so comfortable when he's under him. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't expect to not have like both his interceptions or 2 interceptions that he probably shouldn't even have. So he's taking care of the ball very well. He's in good leadership skills. There is some things that we could clean up, more shots we can take, and he did that this game. And I don't think that was by accident. I think there's some, of course, noise in the system with Steve Spurrier saying that we need to take more shots. I do think Billy pulled him to the side to work on his development with taking those deeper shots, because I said it earlier in the show, we had guys open that would have just moved the sticks. But there was a concentrated effort this game. We're going to have to do that going forward. But I feel comfortable with him. It's going to have to be the guys around Mertz that step up. I think Mertz is going to be fine. Shoring up the offensive line and the protection so he's not getting hit every time he drops back. That's going to be key. Playmakers just staying healthy. Trey Wilson staying healthy. He makes the offense go. Those guys growing up around him. But it's just a week-to-week lead. There's no dominant team in college football right now. I've seen teams like Boston College play Florida State close, and they should have won that game, right? I've seen Georgia struggle with some teams early on. That just gives me a little optimism that we could go play any team and not worry about getting blown out. I don't think we'll have to get in an actual shootout with maybe LSU and Mizzou, maybe the shootouts you get into. But I'm not scared of a shootout, even with Florida State. I think their offensive line is going to struggle. Their defense got a lot of holes in it. Their secondary has a lot of holes in it. Georgia is the only one that could possibly blow us out, but I don't even think that's going to happen. I think Georgia's going to face a tough football game next week. And as long as we keep it in, 10 points until the fourth quarter, we're going to be all right. I'm not predicting us to win, but I think we can be competitive.
But it's interesting, though. I'm thinking about the taking shots thing. They did take more shots against South Carolina, but they also did what they've been doing, but had more success with some of those underneath routes. You had guys slipping tackles and turning them into more.
Correct.
Like I was rewatching the highlights just before I came on, and there's a play there's a play where he kind of dumps it down to Boardingham, and Boardingham slips a tackle, it turns it into a first down. Like stuff like that matters too. And that's one of those things that you kind of wonder, is that development? Are they getting better at that? Is that South Carolina's defense? We won't know until we see them play these next few games. But that would be a huge thing too. And I also wonder, is that Wilson being an option there too? Because he's one of those guys, when he catches the ball, it's not going to be just where he caught it usually. It's going to be him going, a little bit further. And I think that helps them a lot too, because, they were trying to force feed him early. He gets hurt against Tennessee, comes back kind of a little bit slowly, but now it seems like he's healthy and doing what he's supposed to be doing. So that's what I know these guys think I'm pooping on the parade. I'm actually optimistic about this. Like, this is exactly what we said when I was with you guys in the preseason. Will their best players be their young players? The answer is yes. Like, that's the part to be excited about.
Yeah, I'm with you. Trey Wilson is just crazy different. That play, he gets the reverse or whatever, and Missouri, they rush in, blitz right off the edge of what we running that reverse, and he makes both of those guys miss and go for like 15 yards. That just shows just how different he is. Just get him the ball, keep him healthy. ETN getting healthy is going to be key too. Go ahead.
And that's what some of these really good offenses, like Ohio State, isn't just throwing over the top of people all the time.
Correct.
Like they'll throw an underneath route to Ibuka or to Julian Fleming, and that guy will take it, 40 yards. You have to be able to.
Harrison's a pretty good option too.
He's okay. He's all right. but I mean that's what some of these better offenses do routinely, and that's what Florida has not been able to do really until we saw them do it on Saturday. And if that's going to be a consistent part of their offense going forward, then you got something going. Now, against Georgia, like I said, that's a harder thing to do. Like Georgia last year was great at keeping everything in front of them. Like they did not give up a lot of yak yards, and they're still probably in that mold this year. They're not as talented defensively as they were last year, but they're still really good. But these other teams, I've seen LSU and Missouri and Arkansas give up a ton of yak yards. Like they're out there for you.
Yeah, obviously it's been an interesting season for the Gators. 5-2, I think, is about as good of a record as anybody thought the Gators would have at this point, whether those losses were against Kentucky or Tennessee or Utah, whatever it might be. It's been a unique up and ride for the Gators this season, but hopefully you're starting to see some improvement. You go into a bye week, then you have Georgia hopefully get healthy. Eugene Wilson, ETN probably still nursing some things. Offensive line has had some injuries. A lot of teams are dealing with injuries, right? I know this isn't a uniquely Florida problem, but hopefully the bye comes at a good time for the Gators to be able to get a little bit better. And hopefully they're showing some improvement, right? You come back, you beat Vanderbilt the way you're supposed to. You go win on the road. Even if South Carolina isn't a good team or a great team, whatever it might be, you go, you get that monkey off your back. You do some things a little bit differently. Hopefully you're seeing some growth and improvement there. Don't know if any of us ever anticipated the Gators winning 9, 10, 11 games this season, but hopefully it's those small steps forward that, put you now in a position to compete against LSU, Arkansas, etc.
The aggregate of marginal gains, as Kirby Smart often says. But look,
it's a big word for Kirby.
What did we say? What do we said? I think I said 7 wins at the beginning of the season. I think you guys were all kind of in a 6, 7, 8 in a similar vein. Like, I think that's fine. Given what they were dealing with going into the season, given the schedule, I think that would be fine. And like I said, if the young guys are better at season's end and they look like they will be the ones carrying the team next year,
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that we kind of all agree, and I'm sure Andy, you had the same take, is like it's not just how many wins you have, it's like what those wins look like and who's making the plays to win those, right? Like you'll probably get Graham Mertz back next year, and almost all of your playmakers, except for Ricky Pearsall, on offense and defense for the most part are freshmen, true freshmen, redshirt freshmen, sophomore, right? Like obviously the transfer portal NIL maybe changes some of that, like if there's an opportunity to leave, but like you're probably going to get a very large percentage of returning production.
Dan, you're looking at it that, as they would be someone to be poached from, but I don't necessarily think that people may look at this roster and go, oh, if I can fill in this hole in this roster, this could be a pretty good team.
Yeah, why go to Alabama when I can go to Florida, right?
So somebody in the transfer portal who's really good may look at that and say, well, they are a me away from being significantly better.
Right.
And that's how you recruit it if you're Billy Napier.
Yeah, I think you also approached the with a guy like Graham Mertz. You already seen his potential in the offense and what his team could be. You approach this offense in the transfer portal because it is business. It is NIL. It is pretty much like contracts and deals you're putting out.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think your pocket's a little bit different this offseason than it was last year with a rebuild in mind. This year, you go in with, we got some weapons. We just got to fill in a few spots with some playmakers, offensive linemen, and we could probably roll a little bit here. So I think the approach with the transfer portal is going to be a little bit different this offseason as well.
And the Mertz piece of it's interesting too. I don't want to compare him to Dylan Gabriel, but the circumstances feel a little bit similar. Where Dylan Gabriel was somewhat limited last year because there's nothing behind him, and you saw when he got hurt. Like when Oklahoma played Texas last year with a backup quarterback, it was horrific. They have Jackson Arnold now. And Jackson Arnold was that guy in the quarterback class that all the coaches were like, that's my favorite guy. And they're much more confident doing things with Dylan Gabriel because if they lose him to injury, they're confident Jackson Arnold can come in and play and they'd still be pretty good.
Right.
Next year may feel that way for Florida. DJ Lagway is that guy that you talk to the coaches. They're like, that's the guy I really like in this class. Perhaps you bring him along, you have Mertz, you're not throwing DJ in as a true freshman and saying, save us. And that allows you to be a little more confident with Mertz and just say, hey, do what you got to do. Let's run it wide open because we're not worried about losing you because we have this guy and we think he can be pretty good. So I think that circumstance could help them a lot next year. Now,
that'll be the first year that we could do that too, because we couldn't do that last year with AR. Yeah. Like we was on the same circumstances. Like we got to watch how this guy, plays, get injured because if he goes out, we're in trouble.
I can't remember when's the last time Florida had a situation where they felt good about the backup quarterback. I guess AR when AR was there with Emory or when AR was there with Trask.
I felt great about Trask with Trask Felipe.
Yeah. Although they didn't feel good enough.
We lied good.
They should have been starting him. So
we lied good. Because I felt good about Emory behind Trask, but in reality, like literally we know.
Right. Trask behind Felipe was the best situation, the best backup situation, but it should have been reversed. Been
the other way around. Correct.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it took a bad injury to see that.
Maybe Cam Newton and Tim Tebow.
That was pretty good.
I love the kind of leader that Graham is. I think if he's back next year, which I think he will be, unless he slings it around in all these shootouts you're talking about and goes nuts. I think it's unbelievably great for DJ Lagway to come in and learn from him and just see how he goes about his business and what he does. And DJ's not going to be thrown in if Graham is back, but you can sit there and watch how a 23 will be 24 next December man goes about his business and learn and see how the team reacts to him. So I think that's something we probably haven't even talked
and also,
about.
Mertz seems like the kind of guy who would be very generous in terms of being a mentor and all that. So I think it's it's trending up. If we talk the Monday after the Georgia game, I think people will probably be pretty down again because Georgia's really good. But I think if we just look at this in terms of trajectory, you should feel all right. Like this is exactly what you said needed to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with this team. We have a week off to get healthy, to watch some other games. And then we'll be back in beautiful city of Jacksonville, their #1 tourist event of the entire year. Probably keeps their entire tourism budget going. So, Andy, let's let you run. I know Nick has to go to Billy Napier here soon as well.
No
Andy,
Billy this week.
Say what?
No Billy this week. We're
No
Probably,
Billy
man.
this week.
Billy's
All
on
right.
bye.
Well, Andy, if you want to stick around for another 2-3 hours, who do you have winning the Heisman Trophy? Michael Penix?
I got Penix right now, but man, Jaden Daniels is coming on. Like Jaden Daniels is very tough to deny. And also Caleb Williams had one bad game. Like, if I'm picking right now, like if I was drafting a college quarterback and I had all these guys, I'd still probably take Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
But I do think Penix, I mean, God, he was so good against Oregon. And that situation where they get the ball back after they stop them on 4th down, and it's like, okay, go do something.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes him like 2 plays. And they're back in the end zone. So, but Jaden Daniels has become like, it's crazy how good he's been this season. And he's had to be, because their defense has been so bad. Now, finally against Auburn, they got some stops. But man, that dude, because it felt like at first LSU's entire run game was Jaden Daniels scrambling. Now they have a little bit of a run game, and then he also can scramble when something breaks down in the pass game. And those two receivers are the two best receivers are really, really good. Neighbors and why am I blanking on Brian Thomas? Those guys are great. But so he may put up just such absurd numbers that we can't not give it to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting to see. It's an interesting year of college football, probably the one with a lot of storylines that make it intriguing, a lot of parity, a lot of new teams on there. And I will say this, if FSU gets into the playoff as a 1-loss team and Air Force is still undefeated and they don't make it over them, I just think the NCAA hates America and the college football playoff hates America. I, for one, will be on the picket line to put Air Force in over Florida State. But Andy, we'll let you run. Let everybody know.
I can get one more for Andy, real quick. One more for Andy. Andy, give me 2 or 3 guys you would like to see at OC if we were to make that.
Oh God, I've been thinking about this because I don't know again how flexible stylistically would Billy be willing to be. I'd say one guy I've liked this year is Kirby Moore at Missouri. And interestingly, he got into a situation where you had a head coach who was giving up play calling after calling plays for a long time. And they've been great. I mean, that's been a great arrangement. Eli Drinkwitz before the season was like, I just realized I was not doing as good a job as a CEO as I could be doing. And I wasn't as good of an OC as I could have been. So I wanted to change it. And they bring in Kirby Moore, and he's been outstanding. Ryan Grubb from Washington's fantastic. I don't think they can get him away from there because Alabama tried last year and it didn't work. Andy Ludwig at Utah has been very, very good, especially in the circumstances that they've been dealing with this year. Like, I don't know they're getting Cam Rising back like that. When you find out when he talks about the totality of that knee injury he suffered in a Rose Bowl, they keep saying it's maybe the week to week. It sounds like maybe not. So Ludwig has been kind of stringing that thing together with coat hangers, but he was, before the season, really good when he had Rising. That stylistically may be pretty close to what Billy's looking for. And, Ludwig interviewed at Notre Dame last year, and then they had a weird situation where there was some sort of miscommunication about what his buyout was from Utah. And Notre Dame's like, we're not going to pay the buyout. And I was like, what? Like, you had him at the basketball game with Marcus Freeman. You're Notre Dame. You got the money. Just pay the buyout. But they're happy with Jared Parker now. So, this week they are. But yeah, so those would be some names I'd think about. Like, Ludwig would probably stylistically make a lot of sense. I don't know that Kirby Moore would make a lot of sense stylistically. But again, I don't know if if they do decide to go with an OC, how willing to kind of say, this is your show and I'm open to a lot of things. Like, is that Billy Napier, or is it going to be, hey, I like what I like, and so I'm going to hire somebody who's a similar mindset to me?
Jeff Scott.
But Jeff's never really called plays. Like, Tony Elliott called the plays when Jeff and Tony were the co-OCs.
He didn't call plays at USF either?
He had Charlie Weiss Jr., and then he lost him, and then he had Trickett calling plays. So, yeah, so Jeff Scott's going to get you a bunch of good receivers. Like, that's his specialty. But I don't know that, if you're going to do that, you'd probably go in with someone who's more experienced.
Proven.
Play caller. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Something.
I'm glad it's not. If it's not Jeff Scott, I'm happy. I wanted you to knock that down.
I love Jeff. Jeff's a great guy.
Not for my OC, I don't.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, that name popping up is an interesting one, and it makes sense.
Relationships,
they go way back. Yeah.
Right.
So they understand each other very well. But yeah, the question is, how much did he, because now he did remember the play where Hunter Renfrow scored to win the national title?
Mm-hmm.
Jeff suggested that one.
Let's hire him.
Jeff called that one. I do know that for a fact. So
it's back in.
There you go. All right, he's back on the list.
Send the contract.
You sold me, man.
That's the question for me is just if Billy says I'm gonna hire an OC, how willing is he to be schematically flexible, or does he want to run what he wants to run? And I think that will give us the answer to what the list is.
Yeah. Right. A lot of changes have to happen. I would imagine that we'll see a few, probably even on special teams. Who knows? Maybe Shane Beamer can be a special teams analyst for us next season. Andy, let everybody know where they can follow you, read all your work, and we appreciate you coming on again, my friend.
Yeah, I'm at On3, same place as Nick Delatorre. You can go to the On3 Sports YouTube page and see my show every night. It premieres at 8 p.m. Eastern time, Thursday through Sunday. It's also on demand anytime you want it. It's on every podcast platform. And I'm Andy_Staples on X, and also Andy_Staples on Instagram. So you know where to find me.
You know where to find you. Great college sports takes, but also even better food takes. Go follow Andy. Andy, we appreciate you coming on the show today, my friend, and we will talk with you soon. And thanks for not reading every comment. But I'm sure everybody appreciated your time.
It was cooking you, Andy. Have a good one, my guy.
They do it everywhere. Every fan base. It's part of the job. So
yeah, you hate every fan base. I love it. All right, Andy.
Your school, even my school. So
yeah, even your school. Awesome, Andy. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Andy.
All right, see you.
Andy Staples. Always enjoy our time with Andy. Let's get one final ad read. We'll talk a little bit about the defense, and we'll get out of the show today. As always, go support our friends over at Alumni Hall, alumnihall.com, or on Archer Road right off of 75. The best in Gators clothing, golf polos, T-shirts, whatever it might be from an apparel perspective, tailgating supplies, holiday gifts for the friends and family in your life that root and cheer on the Florida Gators. Go support Alumni Hall at alumnihall.com or on Archer Road. Let them know Stadium and Gale sent you. Before we get into the defense, please hit the like button. It's down there. Hit the subscribe button. Turn the notifications on. And thanks everybody for your commentary.
Bring Chris back too. Chris, come back, bro. We didn't mean to run you away, dog. That's our number one fan right there.
So
before we get to
Chris wanted us to throw blows with Andy a little bit. He's like, hey, bro, the score's like 50-10. What's up? Y'all boys ain't gonna squabble?
Yeah, 52-10.
Hey. We didn't sign up for a squabble, Chris. My God.
Seth Emerson reported Brock Bowers likely to miss, and then Georgia confirmed his report that Bowers is going to have surgery today to stabilize the ankle.
Hope you have a successful surgery.
Very successful surgery. Takes some time to heal. Ankle surgeries can be long-lasting and life-altering if not given the proper time to recover. So we wish Brock Bowers a slow and healthy recovery.
Look at Dan, just wishing the best.
As always
Right,
do.
you gotta-
I will never cheer on an injury. I hate that for him. As somebody, my best friend growing up played football at University of Pittsburgh. He had back surgery, came back for his 5th year. His mom got diagnosed with cancer, came back for this 5th year, had preventative back surgery, had to miss the beginning half of the year, and then came back and tore his ACL in the first game back. So I know how debilitating those injuries are mentally. He was a potential first-round NFL draft pick, plays for the Saints for a little while. But long story short, never want to wish an injury on somebody. They have a very short amount of time to do so. But I do want to make sure that he is healthy no matter what, whether he's playing the Gators or not. Certainly hope that he can become healthy. So let's get into the defense a little bit, and then we'll get out of here. Let's look at Pro Football Focus. Miguel Mitchell ranked as the top defensive player, then Tyreek Sapp, then Chris McClellan, Jason Marshall, Jaden Hill, Shamar James, Taraja Mitchell, Caleb Banks, Jack Pyburn, and Cameron Jackson round out your top 10. Actually, Aaron Gates was number 4, but only had the one play on defense there. Give me your thoughts on the defense. Obviously not a spectacular performance, but what are your thoughts?
Hey man, eight need to get his life together. I'm gonna lead off with that. Like eight gotta get his life together when it pertains to just tackling, ball skills, just making a play when the ball's in the air. Bro, we gotta figure it out. Devin Moore gotta get healthy. If not, give me Jackson at corner. Aaron Gates came out there and did a little something at the end of the game. But I just need more out of 8, bro. It's not there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Overall defense got to figure out the run fits. Shamar James had a great game. He made some plays happen, but it's still some run fit stuff that he's missing on that I need cleaned up. But he had 8 tackles, 5 solo. Without him, we lose that game. Right now, he's the most valuable player on defense, bar none. We just get so used
Focus
to.
has Kimber as the second best cover guy on the team.
Yeah, Pro Football Focus lies a lot. I don't know. They lie a lot. They lie more than me.
Yeah,
I think he's had,
besides the big plays.
I think he's had a good season, but when he has bad plays, they are like glaringly bad, and they kind of just stick with you. I think for the most part, Kimber's been fine, but then when he misses a tackle, it goes for a touchdown, or when he gets beat, it goes for like 60 yards. But I think other than that, he's been solid.
You get a new job, you got to shadow the waitress at the restaurant or something like that. I think Kimber needs to shadow Jaden Hill doing tackling drills. Yeah, for real. Jaden Hill's doing his thing, bro. He's wrapping up. He's tackling.
Before we forget that, Jaden Hill tackle where Austin Armstrong was nearly the 12th player on the field, calling that.
Good call out. Nasty. Yeah, I like that.
Just an incredible sense of awareness from Austin Armstrong. Jaden Hill ran from the other side of the hill and didn't stop running until that player was tackled. Incredible awareness by Austin Armstrong. But yeah, Jaden Hill. I mean, guys, my guy.
The season goes as Jaden Hill goes.
I did say that Jalen Kimber was my best DB going into that Kentucky game with the Gator Nation guys. So I am eating a little bit of crow.
He just got to clean up, bro. Like the tackling, I don't know what it is, but he's not bringing that hat to tackle. And then he's panicking when the ball's in the air on some of these deep passes. I think he's in position, but you just got to make a play on the ball. Ahmad was on our space yesterday and was just saying the same thing. He's got to get a little bit more scrappy with getting those guys not to complete those passes because he was getting picked on that game. But overall, defensively, let me finish my overall take. Lack of pass rush. I think that will help out the secondary with some of the ills that we get on the back end. Being young, 14, Castell just got to, read and diagnose a little bit faster. He took some lumps this game. Pro Football Focus, I think, had Miguel Mitchell as like one of the top guys, but the tackling is still they Pro Football Focus lie a lot. I seen the game. I don't know if he was one of the top guys on the defense. I know he wasn't. But we just got to figure some things out. I want a speed package on the defense with the pass rush. When we're in obvious passing downs, Cam Jackson, 21, they could come off the field. Give me some young boys, put Kelby on the field, Chris McClellan, put those guys on the field. We need a speed rush package. I think Cam Jackson and 21 just aren't it when it pertains to, getting pass rush, collapsing the pocket. Scooby Williams got to wait back up. He started off the season hot, and was a nice little Robin to Shamar James Batman, but that seemed to die down a little bit. So I'm gonna need him to wait back up on the defensive side of the ball. But there's just a lot to be fixed, man. I do like that we adjust and we come through in the clutch, which they did down towards the end. There was some adjustments made, but we got to be able to get some stops going to down this final stretch. And hopefully we clean some things up in this bye week.
Yeah, definitely need to improve on some tackling. 11 missed tackles in this game. Jalen Kimber, not to harp on him, gave up 102 yards on 4 for 5 passing against him, along of 46, 25.5 yards against him. So certainly he was the guy that was picked on this game, but do want to give Spencer Rattler his flowers and his credit, right? He played a really good game, and Florida's not going to play a lot of quarterbacks like him through the rest of the season, or maybe they are. Maybe that's the first time that they've really played a quarterback that's been hitting on all their passes in this game. Now that I think about it, so hopefully you learn from it. You still have Brady Cook, you still have Carson Beck, and you still have Jordan Travis ahead of you on the schedule there. But Jalen Kimber certainly had a rough couple of games here in a row. So hopefully we see some improvement there by him. I thought Jack Pyburn, that guy brings some energy, man. When he's out there, he doesn't play a ton of snaps in the game, but love his energy when he's out there. And then we're still seeing some improvements by, Jordan Castell. I thought that he had a really solid game for the Gators at safety, especially for a young guy. Still a lot to work on when it comes to deep coverage with the Gators, in my opinion. But, still the guys that you're seeing, Tyreek Sapp had a really good game. I think Caleb Banks, made some movement in the pocket there as well. Didn't get to the quarterback a ton in this game. Do end up with 3 sacks, 4 hurries, 4 hits on the quarterback, and then 8 hurries. But still want to see some fundamentals improve when it comes to tackling, because having 11 missed tackles it's starting to become a continued trend for the Gators, and we thought that had improved a little bit. Go ahead, Nick.
They hurry they get there, they just don't finish. They've got 73 hurries on the year. I mean, you're getting more than 10 hurries a game.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not finishing, whether it's an arm tackle that a guy goes through or a quarterback moves. Like, you're just not finishing. Like, Princely's got 20 hurries in 7 games.
We need to enforce on defense.
Oh, go ahead. So,
go ahead.
I was just going to say they seem to attack the pocket and not necessarily the quarterback. It seems like they're one motions to try to get in the quarterback's peripheral range and not necessarily to try to get to the quarterback, which I think is allowing the quarterback to be able to get out of a lot of those hurries a little bit quicker. And that's at least what I'm seeing, is that move directly into where the pocket is and not directly to the move to where the quarterback is. And because of that, the quarterback's been able to escape. And then at that point, they're gassed, or the coverage is already broken down so much from the offensive line that they're just struggling with where to go next. At least that's what I've noticed.
Real quick, to go back on Kimber, put Nature Gator up real quick. I forgot about that play. Kimber did have
goal line
touchdown
play.
saving. Yeah.
Correct.
So the game's totally different. If South Carolina scores 7 there instead of having to settle for 3, the game plays out totally different. So he got burnt, but that was a huge play in the game. Defensively, I'm starting to think about what Andy said. Like, were we just too high on the defense? Were they just playing bad teams? Because I think they're good. These missed tackles got to stop. You've got to force some turnovers. I know you got one.
I think early on you just get like the advantage that we get with the defense or a team not knowing what offense we want to run. Right. I don't think a lot of teams knew how Austin Armstrong would attack them. Once they get that on film, a lot of the way we even handle the run, we slant and we stun a lot. Another thing too, get rid of the stunts. You're trying to stunt Cam Jackson. I think he's too big to be running stunts with, man. But I just think once the film got out there, we saw the Kentucky game, they kept running the same run play and they was gashing us. And then we come back this South Carolina game, first half, they gashing us in the same type of run. We have a run fit issue that teams see on film that they're hitting on. So there's this film out there. So the defense came out hot, but after that Tennessee game, we got figured out Kentucky exposed a few things there, I think, in the run game.
Yeah, I think so. I also think you have to have a little perspective, not saying that you guys don't, but just in general about where the defense was last year and
Yeah,
how
correct.
much of an improvement you're going to have when you do lose some senior level folks, right? Even if they weren't great, you lost a lot of snaps on that team. So you're playing a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores, some transfers in there. So, it would probably be egregious to ever think that 120th ranked defense could go and be a top 10 defense this season, especially with the schedule that they have. But I think that they've made some big improvement, and you're starting to see, those guys start to improve and hopefully continue to improve as they get more snaps under their belt too. So I do want to make sure that not you guys, but in general, when we talk about the defense, where they were last year, where they are this year, and how different it is with how young they are. Right. So go ahead.
Florida's 20th in the country in total defense. I
mean,
we're talking about them like they're trash. Like, I think they've had 2 bad games. 100%. Like, they're still dealing with guys having to count on freshmen, having to count on redshirt freshmen.
Yeah. I want to see how we approach the Georgia game, because I know with Spencer Rattler, I would have liked to see us design more blitzes to get to him off his launch point and affect him a little bit more. We didn't seem to do that. And he's a dual threat quarterback that you do got to worry about and spy a little bit, right? You don't want to blitz and miss. Then you got some other problems. But I want to see how we approach playing Carson Beck, a guy that's not mobile, who's going to be a statue standing in the pocket. I want to see Austin Armstrong get more aggressive. If the front four can't get there, we have nothing to lose Georgia week. Let me cut my dinger off, man. This thing will go off a whole show. I'm sorry. We have nothing to lose Georgia week, right? Everybody's expecting us to lose this game. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It is bye week. We're going to vibe and touch some grass here. But, bro, blitz more. Don't be obvious pre-snap. Give these quarterbacks more things to diagnose. Get lined up in the trenches, get your hand in the dirt faster. We're standing around a little bit, not as much as the Grantham era, but we do get caught, not ready pre-snap. So little small things like that, I think we need to clean up. But what the rankings at, huge improvement from last year, but I think we can still be a lot better, bro.
Yeah, no, you look at this team, if you look at the total defense for this year, and I know Pro Football Focus isn't perfect, but Princely is your number one guy on defense. Devin Moore hasn't played a ton this year. Tyreek Sapp new to getting a lot of times. Caleb Banks transfer in. TJ Searcy freshman. Jalen Kimber hurt most of last year. Shamar James sophomore starting for the first time. Chris McClellan doesn't play a ton, but, didn't play a ton last year too. He's making some impact. Jamari Lyons, again, a new player to this team. Jordan Castell, a new player. So, outside of Princely, all of your big players were either marginal or not on the team last year. So we're starting to see some improvement, by the defense that hopefully going into next year, that's when you see that big, step up for that defensive unit. Welcome back, Nick. Yeah, Justice Boone. John Wilcox mentioned it as well. Justice Boone, was your biggest pass rushing threat probably coming into this year. He comes back next year, hopefully, and that adds another wrinkle to that team as well.
Go get me McCray. I need LJ McCray. That's what I need in my life. What else we got defensive wise?
I think that's it. Obviously not a great game. Opportunity to improve, opportunity to get healthy, opportunity to work on those tackling dummies.
And Mincy.
And Zay Mincy.
Do want to mention when the defense had to make a play, they made plays at the end of the game.
Yeah. And they gave South Carolina another opportunity, right? You have the rough in the passer call, which I'm
egregious.
But then you go and make another stop, right? So that's what you needed out of this team.
Egregious. What's the feedback on Aaron Gates? He was out early in the season. He's back after injury. Got a rep late in the game. I seen you put out a tweet out there about him, Nick. What's the feedback on Aaron Gates? I liked his skill set coming out of high school. He was committed so long we forgot about him, but he's a kid that can play some football, bro. I think he's going to be a really good defensive back once he gets healthy.
Yeah, that was the first time he played. I think he got a tackle, and then he recovered the pass. I think it goes down as a fumble recovery on that last kick. I don't know how much he'll play this year, but they like him. He sat out all spring, sat out all fall, just kind of getting back into it with his knee. But they like him. I mean, this DB class, like they hit on this DB class last year. It'll be interesting to see. I think he can play star. I think he can play a bunch of different spots. So I just don't know how much he'll play this year, being it has how much time he's missed. But they like him.
I do like that they're, putting in some new folks, into the game. Obviously, get them the opportunity to play those 4 games, right? Even if it's a couple snaps here and there, that game time experience is valuable. And obviously, Florida put him in at a very critical time as well. So, so hopefully we continue to see this team mature and grow. Gators go into a bye week, then head to Jacksonville, Florida to play Georgia. I think that kind of brings us to the end of the show. Any other things you guys want to talk about before we wrap up here?
It's bye week. Make sure you touch some grass.
Touch some grass. I'll be in Philadelphia this weekend, so we're going to be doing a different show time next week. We're going to do an evening show, try to get a different audience as well to watch. Going to watch the Dolphins and the Eagles play. So,
already
Eagles just lost. No more undefeated teams in the NFL. Popping champagne.
Let's talk real quick. A little recruiting. LJ McCray deciding Saturday. Defensive end out of Mainland, which is our bye week. I don't want to throw anything crazy out there, but I do think it's interesting that he's deciding Saturday. That's our bye week. We could use some good positive energy. I think it's down to us, Georgia, Florida State, in this.
Yeah, Miami, Auburn, top 5 listed on 247. He's the number 6 player overall in the country from 247, the number 106th overall player in that composite ranking as well. 6'6", 260-pound defensive lineman. Just visited Florida State, I believe, last week. October 7th is when he was there. Did his official back to Florida in June. Also visited Georgia and Miami in June as well. And Auburn. So team
was that his last official? So was that his last official to Florida State? Did they get the last visit?
Yeah, they got the last visit. Everybody got their visits over the summer. Mom has some FAMU ties. She graduated at FAMU, so there's some Tallahassee ties there. But what I'm hearing, I think our staff feels good where they at with it, but it is recruiting. It is NIL era. Anything can happen, even if he commits, anything can still happen up until signing day. But what I'm hearing from our side, like everybody likes where we're at with it. No guarantees here. Florida State's having a really good season. Georgia, coming off of Natty. It is what it is. But if we could pull that off right now, a lot of updates too when it pertains to rankings. We're the number 3 team in the country. When you look at the composites, adding LJ McCray in. Jordan Seaton is a must get, in my opinion, with offensive line. Zay Mincy, you got some elite stuff still on the board, a couple 5 stars there, right? So you could take this number 3 class and make it even more creme de la creme. And holding on to some guys is going to be key as well. Everybody's asking me. I get Jamonte Waller DMs all the time, like where he's at with it. We got some guys we got to keep in the fold. But we got a very good class. When you got number 3 class, of course, teams around the country are trying to poach you. But if we could keep everything intact and add some of this top shelf stuff, bro, you gotta love it. We'll see what happens Saturday, though.
I think that Billy Napier's done a fantastic job showing, those that are freshmen, especially highly regarded freshmen, that there's going to be an opportunity to come into the University of Florida and play football and play a lot of snaps at the University of Florida. I think the University of Florida has the most number of snaps by true freshmen this season, which, certainly, can be a bit of an Achilles heel at time for the Gators, but ultimately, I think he's doing what he said, playing a lot of the best guys on the team at that time. Let's run through a couple other things with recruiting. The Gators did offer a preferred walk-on spot to DeBron Hampton, who's DJ Lagway's number 1, I think, wide receiver out there at his high school. DJ Lagway. And Keith Niebuhr and him hung out last week. A lot of good content if you go check out On 3 there. And then a Georgia commit scheduled a visit to the Florida Gators, and that was Jadon Perlot. He is a 6'3" top 100 player. So the Gators are going to be getting him. He's a linebacker in that group, so he should be visiting Florida here soon. I know Charles Lester III, who's a Florida State commit, has said that he's going to visit Florida again as well. And I think that there was one more player that I wanted to mention, but On3 doesn't want to load right now. So we'll focus on that a little bit. Oh, and then Isaiah Williams, the wide receiver commit from Florida, did get an offer from Texas. He's from Carrollwood Day here in Tampa. Did mention that he may go visit Texas with that offer in hand now. So
chill, fam. Chill, bro.
All right, gentlemen. Nick, I think you have song of the week this week.
Ooh.
This is always a wild card. I'm always interested what Nick gonna pick.
It could be some old school rap, could be a Nashville country music song, or anything in between.
I think the people got me and you figured out, Dan, well, we may take it, but
Yeah.
Nick a wild card, dog. You never know what you're gonna get. What you got?
So this week's sea shanty is, I'm just kidding. We're going with The Fix Before the Six just came out. So Lil Wayne, Birds.
I gotta
Back
check
to
it
back
out.
Wheezy songs.
Hey man, shout out to
Nazi,
Weezy.
Lil Wayne verse.
Bro,
Wait, I
he
think it
went
dropped this
bananas on that verse, bro. It dropped this
what?
weekend?
He called it The Fix Before the Six because the
Yeah.
Carter always takes forever to come out. So there's 11 songs. I think it dropped. Oh, it dropped last week of September. Dropped a couple weeks ago. Showing
My
my
brother called it the mid before the jig. He said the jig's up. He said it wasn't a good project from Wayne, but I'm gonna check it out.
Go check it out. All right, gentlemen. Well, we will see you guys at the same corner, different time next week. Enjoy the bye week. As Silk says, touch grass, go spend some time with your loved ones and family. And we will see you guys next.
Go see your mama, bro.
Go see your mama. See you guys.